1972, and 3,158 of all time. It is Aretha Franklin's fourth highest rated album on Best Ever Albums. There's also Aretha Now, which is on here from 1968. That's number 3. So I don't think we're going to do that one. We're out of the 60s. So yeah. So there you go.
There we go. I guess I start this one, don't I?
You do.
So
yep.
I'll go ahead and start the 15 minutes. And let me say that this is a very different Aretha that we find here in the early 70s than the Aretha that we listened to in the 60s, I think. This is, to me, this sounds like a more mature Aretha. This sounds like an Aretha that instead of singing songs and making them her own with just her voice, she's singing songs where maybe the lyrical content in some cases lines up a little bit more with things that are bigger than just traditional love songs or love lost songs. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of songs like that on the album as well, but songs like Young, Gifted, and Black and April Fools are definitely songs that go into different areas as well. There's still there's some interesting covers here, aren't they? There and Long and Winding Road is the obvious one that jumps off. I think Border Song. I know that is an Elton John song. So yeah, I think Bernie Taupin might have written that song if I remember correctly, but I recognize that. I don't know if he wrote it for and then Elton John did it later, or if it was Elton. I mean, because Elton John was out right around the same time, right? I think this was Daniel or Your Song, Elton John, right? 72, like very first Elton John, if I remember correctly.
I think it's on his first album.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what year that was though.
Yeah, I always think of that as the Your Song album, right? Your Song and Daniel are the two early Elton John songs I think of. But yeah, there's that I recognize there, and I've Been Loving You Too Long. I've heard Otis Redding do that before. Right. So and I feel like there's one other cover, but it's escaping me right now. But then a song like First Snow in Kokomo is a really interesting use of Aretha Franklin's voice too. But I'm going to kick it to you guys in a second. But the biggest thing is that this is a very different sounding singer. Now, her voice is still incredible, and she still owns these songs like she did in the 60s. But I feel that she's more performer here than she... artist here, maybe, is the best way I'm looking at it, than just a singer, right? She's transcending that now, and she's going to another level. I like the material here a little bit better too, and the song craft as well. I liked both of those first two albums, and probably I would even say there were more tracks that I really liked on those albums. But interestingly enough, even though that was the case, I liked the totality of this album better than I liked those other two albums. It's a different feel. It's an updated Aretha Franklin for the 70s.
I didn't like this album as much. I think the covers were not as good as the originals and kind of threw me off as well. I think the Otis Redding, I mean, even though she took his respect and made it better, I've Been Loving You Too Long is better as an Otis cover or original in my opinion. I did like her. I would guess that Rock Steady was probably a single off of this album. That was kind of like a proto like disco song almost in a way, or like a funk song. I really like that one. That was danceable. And I think Young, Gifted, and Black was also really great. But overall, I think I liked her earlier albums more. I feel like her voice was almost more powerful then, or she was putting more energy into it or something. And I think she still has the strong voice here, and she still is able to switch genres really well. Because she has, she covers the soul here. I think she's got some gospel stuff in here, or gospel inflected songs, and then you still have the R&B as well. But for some reason, this didn't come together for me as a whole overall.
You're the tiebreaker, Matt.
I think I'm falling in the middle of you guys. Okay. I definitely liked it more than Josh. I don't think I liked it as much as John. And again, it's harder for me on one listen. A couple of the main things I got out of this, the main difference between this and the other two that we covered, this does sound more 70s. You've got more of that 70s production. You've got some wah-wah, guitar sounds. You've got that more of the orchestration, which I think in several songs made me go, okay, in the strings, you know, like this is a more 70s sounding record. Again, not to its detriment, just pointing out that difference there. So it's kind of going along with the times a little bit. I hear a lot of gospel in here, and you know, it to me, a number of these songs just seem like, especially the slower ones where she's got the background singers, it sounds like she's almost like the preacher in the pulpit, and then you can just hear the other singers are behind her in the robes doing the, you know, some of the hand claps and doing the background stuff. And that's still much. I remember hearing that a lot in her first two records as well. So I don't know if I want to go quite so far as to say this is, maybe the topics are more mature, like lyrically. Musically, again, aside from that production, it's got more of the 70s layering production. I can't say that this is terribly different from one listen. I think her vocals are still just as strong. There's plenty of parts here where she's going off and she's feeling it, and she draws you right in with her voice. She's not losing a step there at all. You know, so I liked it. You know, it's a very enjoyable listen. But Aretha's it's not hard to listen to Aretha Franklin records, you know, even if it's not your typical, you know, genre, which it's not for me, like gospel, R&B, that type of thing. You know, funk. There's some funk. I agree. I think Rocksteady was a fantastic. I heard that one right away. If that wasn't a single, it should have been, because that was something that got me right away. And the what it is. I know that's been sampled somewhere. I don't remember where. It's one of those things. I'm like, I know I've heard that before, in that exact kind of tone. But a couple other things. Oh Me, Oh My, I'm a Fool for You. That's the opening track. I knew that as a Buster Poindexter song.
Oh my God.
Josh, do you know who Buster Poindexter is?
Yes, I do. Do you want me?
No, but who is he in real life?
Oh, no, I don't know that.
Oh, you don't, John? You know who this? You know this, right?
Mm-hmm. It's yes, I know.
David Johansen from
David
New York
Johansen,
Dolls.
Yes.
So that's one of the 5 albums that my dad had when I was a kid. Like with the weirdest. My dad's got the weirdest album collection. He had Buster Poindexter. Yeah,
hot, right? It's
so
different than New York Dolls too. Different.
Yes. But he does a cover of that on that record. So I was like, oh, I know this. And hats off to Aretha Franklin for making the long and winding road a good song for me to listen to. I like
70 times better than the version of Let It Be.
Josh, I don't know if you included that in your list of songs that you'd like the originals better, but if this is in there, I totally disagree, because this sounds much better than the schlock of McCartney's version on Let It Be.
Well, it's more stripped down, that's for sure.
But it's more interesting, you know. It's got a pulse to it. But yes, overall I liked it. Again, you know, kind of blending together. I don't think she's traveling too far outside of her lane. But I liked it. I can't say that I liked it any better or worse than the other two. Probably I can't say I like it better than the other two, just because I'm more familiar with those other ones, and they have some of those classic songs. And top to bottom, I don't remember. I think one of them actually made my. I think Lady Soul was my top 10. So so this probably isn't going to get there, but it's close enough. It's very good. It's Aretha Franklin, and you should listen to it. So that's my take.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that one of the reasons I like this better is because, with Aretha Franklin's voice in the 60s, it was like it's a weapon that's coming right at you. It was always intense, right? I like it better here, used as a weapon selectively. There were songs where she belted like you know she could. There were songs where she escalated, but there were also songs where she down-tempoed it, and like you said, Matt, went into a gospel approach. And I actually like that, because it gives the album more emotional resonance, whereas the other could kind of just be you weren't connecting as much because you were listening to it as just a manifestation of her singing voice, kind of like early Mariah Carey, right, when she was just this great voice, but not, sometimes the songs you didn't feel them like you did maybe later, and she kind of added that, or in some of the songs. I don't know if you know what I'm talking. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Mariah Carey's work, but in some ways it's kind of like how Whitney Houston really became the biggest version of herself when she did breathier songs and different types of songs, as opposed to just the soaring voice version. And I felt that way too. And like you said, Matt, these songs just seem to be a better fit for her, as if she picked them, as opposed to people saying, here, Aretha, here's some songs, I want you to go sing the hell out of them. That's the vibe I got from this a little bit more.
I mean, I would say that the ebb and flow, right, of an album, that she doesn't just she's not belting every song. It's not this powerhouse upbeat song all the way through, and that's what makes albums more interesting, is when you can kind of do a couple songs like that, bring it down, bring it back up again, and kind of have that kind of feel back and forth. Yeah, and it's hard. I'm trying to remember right now. Like I'm sure that she had some slower, like more moderately tempoed songs in her previous records, didn't she? Or do you feel like this was just?
She did, but it wasn't just the tempo. It was how she used her voice, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And we're going to be doing a lot more R&B, Matt, in the near future, and we're going to be doing Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, Isley Brothers, which is going to be awesome. And one of the things I really kind of want to do is see which ones you like and which ones don't resonate with you, because to me, there are certain ones that have one or two tricks and they do them really well, but they have one or two tricks that they do really well. And then there's others that have a variety of tricks. And for me, they might not do every one of them perfect, but they've just got a lot of tricks. And for me, those are always the R&B soul singers that I love the best, the ones that have a bunch of different tricks. I think this is where Aretha Franklin showed more of her tricks.
Okay.
And I like that.
Yeah, there's definitely, I could see what you're saying by that. But yeah, it'll certainly be interesting, is it? Because I know all of these artists, I just don't know a ton of their stuff, so it'll be interesting to explore their catalogs, if you will. But yeah, this is great.
You're getting a little bit of a bachelor's degree in R&B and soul here, aren't you, Matt? With Aretha Franklin, Nina Simone, Al Green, all kinds of funk and soul.
Getting some stuff.
Yeah, I was about to say, you're going to be pretty polished by the end of this, even if your take on Otis Redding was terrible.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I stand by it, though.
Maybe we should go back and listen to that. We should do a contest where you have to go back and listen to an album you hated.
Worst audience, worst take of any of us. I already know what mine would be based on the feedback on YouTube. Based on the feedback on YouTube, I already know the answer to that question for me, but we'll save that for another time. So,
well, I never said that he was bad, or I just didn't. It was fine. It just wasn't this earth-shattering album, and I like the covers or the other versions of a lot of those songs better than what he did. So I stand by that. I don't.
I'd probably have to re-listen to Abbey Road or Derek and the Dominoes, I think, off the top of my head.
Oh, because your original was like, eh.
Yeah.
I got you.
I've got a couple of my own that YouTube in particular really likes to call me out on. More recently, Pink Floyd Metal. So people were very upset.
Oh, people mad at you, John? Oh, damn.
Oh, they were definitely upset at some of my takes, but
it's okay.
I'd like to say I'll revisit them, but I won't. So,
you know what?
Yeah.
I'm sure that some of those people would give takes, and we'd all be like, "That was a terrible take on that." Like we all get there.
No one can accuse us of being overly positive in order to get the views, right? Because if we would just put the honey in the nectar. So, all right. With that being said, I think that ends "Young, Gifted, and Black" for us by Aretha Franklin, and we're going to see you again as you listen. You'll be listening to us on the Wednesday version of our Cold List and Hot Takes.